Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another workout. And today was Max Effort Monday, which means Max Effort Squat and Deadlift Day. I was happy with deadlifts. The squats, it was like, well, I was hoping I would get a little better. I was actually hoping I was going to do about 10 pounds heavier on the squat. But when I got to where I got, I felt like it was pretty much as close to a max as I was comfortable getting, because it felt kind of grindy and it felt heavy, and I felt like there was a chance I'd get stapled if I went up another 10. Now, when I look at all my strength curves, I can accept that, but it does tell me that the chains are a little bit different. In other words, I hit the same weight that I hit 2 weeks ago with approximately 14 pounds less chain at the lockout. But when we start looking at the bottom, the unloading at the bottom, it was pretty much the same weight at the bottom. So it just felt as I was coming up that I just didn't have much more in the tank. So that little bit of weight difference at the top didn't seem to matter because I'm getting really, really close to my limits near the bottom. Like in this case, I've got 405 there, and then I go up to 425. Now, I have 77 pounds of chains. And yes, I'm getting them that exact. I'm making notes of that down to the pound for stuff like this. So my total chain weight, including the lead chains, because I've actually weighed the lead chains, is 77 pounds of chain total. I did 91 with the same weight 2 weeks ago, but with another 10 pounds over that, with 101, I only got 405, a couple weeks before that. So when we compare it to where it was a month ago, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that because if we look at the total strength curve, I actually am slightly stronger. And I think when I get closer to testing my box squat again, based on this, I think it's going to be up. Because I'm pretty sure I've got at least 10 pounds of chain at the bottom. Because I know those lead chains alone are 4.5 pounds each. I've weighed them. Right? So not even counting whatever little bits bunched up at the bottom still there, that's a pretty good amount. So we're assuming I have at least 15 pounds of total chain there at the bottom. That means that my box squat should go up. So I'm hoping when we come to test it, it's going to be up a little bit. What I decided to do today was go relatively heavy. I didn't want to hit an all-out max on the Sumo Deadlift because that felt really grindy to me. But I'm like, let me go ahead and load some chain up and put something like 120 pounds of chain on here, and let's test my hook grip. Because I think the direction I'm going is, I think for all my heavy days, we're going to go to straight chains. And for my speed days, we're going to do nothing but waves of bands for a while. And I'm just going to change bars. So people are like, how are you going to change the waves up? I'm going to use different bars. Yes, I'm going to be benching with 2 different bars. I'm going to be squatting with 2 different bars. So that I'll do the waves that way, and I'm not as worried about the deadlifts, because the deadlifts, I'm just doing so much volume of it. The other stuff carries into it. It doesn't matter. I feel like I get such an enormous training response doing the waves anyway I do them on the sumo pulls that it doesn't matter. And I think we're seeing it here because this was good. Like, I was really happy with this because as I'm ramping this up, I've now got 425 on the bar here, and I just keep adding chains. So I'm adding sets of chains as I'm warming up just to see how it feels on my thumbs. And honestly, I was surprised because actually I lost a chunk of skin on my thumb, but fortunately it doesn't hurt. It's just the outer layer came off on the heaviest single, but there's no pain, and it didn't tear, it didn't bleed. So it just took off some of the dead skin on the callus. I'll be fine to do 20 speed pulls later this week. But I ramped this up, and I got 120 pounds of chains on here with 425, and I'm like, well, this actually didn't feel bad. This didn't even feel heavy. It was challenging, like it was heavy, but it wasn't a max. All right, it's like, okay, that was decent. Felt fine on my thumb, so I'm like, let me go a little heavier, and I didn't go too all out. I just want to test my hook grip because I've been working on it, and I know it's going to be my limiting factor on the deadlift. So because I'm using accommodation, it's going to be a little easier at the bottom, and holding it at the top for at least a 1 count will let me see where my grip is, and it held perfect. I didn't feel like my grip was going to slip. It didn't hurt. I mean, it was uncomfortable. Let me put it this way. I'm not going to say it didn't hurt, but it wasn't like pain. It was discomfort. And there's a difference between pain and discomfort. Like it was not comfortable, right? But I held it for a couple seconds. And so if I do the math there, what are we talking about? 565 hold at the top with the hook grip. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. I can live with it. We're going to keep getting there. Okay, then next, this is going to cause some controversy. I'm doing split squats. Now, some people will call this a lunge. Some people will call it a split squat. It doesn't matter what we call it. I noticed my quads were throbbing. They felt like they were definitely the weak link on my squat. I know as a raw lifter, I have to keep building quads, even though I'm doing all these other performance elements. And how do we build lower quads to get power out of the bottom? We have to get into a deep squat position. I felt like my left leg was a hair weaker. I could feel my own strength imbalance there. So I'm going to start messing with these instead. I've been trying to figure out what accessory to plug in here. I had the hip belt squat. I was messing a little bit with the other thing, the safety bar box squat. I'm still not getting the effect I want in my quads. I'm going to have to pick something that really works the quads. And in this case, this makes sense. This is something I'm going to work on. I've been thinking about this one for a few days, trying to figure out what exercise to plug in here. And then I noticed, definitely felt my quads, so I know I need some direct quad work. Now, this is specific to my needs. People are going to argue about the right way to do these. It's irrelevant. What I care about is being able to load up heavy weight onto each quad in a deep squat position. That's what I care about. I don't care about silly shit like pistol squats. In fact, I think pistol squats are stupid. If you're training a pistol squat, you're stupid. And I'm just going to call that like it is, where you put one leg up, because that's a test of balance. You cannot load the muscles correctly that way. So something like a split squat, this is the way to go. I know some top-level coaches who absolutely have their athletes do this, and they don't even distinguish between a lunge and a split squat. They're like, it's all the same thing. It's all for the same purpose. We don't need to figure out what we call it. And I agree with that. It's the same movement. What are we trying to do here? Get that hip into a deep stretch position and use the quad to drive off the floor from a deep squat position. Why? Because that's what gets us started in a squat. And the deeper you go, the more lower quad gets worked. That's why a lot of times you'll see powerlifters who don't have a lower quad who use a lot of wraps, because they don't need as much lower quad to get the weight moving. It doesn't get trained as much. If you're a raw squatter, that lower quad does the job that the knee wraps do. You have to develop it. And so I'm going to have to get strong on these. Yes, they're going to be awkward. I haven't done these before. So yes, I look awkward. It's going to be uncomfortable. I don't like them. And I'm not telling you that most of you need to do this. When it comes down to assistance movements and accessory movements, this is a point I keep trying to tell people. Stop thinking there's a best one. Stop thinking that because your hero uses an assistance movement that is the right one for you. You might get weaker. You know why? Because you picked the wrong exercise. If it doesn't address your weak links from a hypertrophy or movement pattern perspective, and you put your training efforts into it instead of the correct exercise, it's not going to help you. Doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter who does it. They're doing it because they have a different weakness than you do. And for them, it might become an exercise that's no longer useful for them either. And I'm going to say for a lot of people out there, especially people who are more novice and are not an advanced lifter, maybe doing one-legged exercises, probably not your way forward. Because here's what I would say. I squat and deadlift with a lot of volume and fairly heavy and accommodating resistance twice a week. That's a lot of axial loading. If you're not pushing the limits of your axial loading, I don't know that I would ever recommend you consider something like this, a split squat or anything like it, right? Why? You need to develop that back strength. You cannot let your back become the limiting factor in your strength. You can't do it. And this will do it if this is what you did as a primary movement. In my case, I'm doing deadlifting against bands and chains and stuff every single week. That's a lot of load on my back. Right? So I can get away with that. And I can put some effort into the one leg to help with a unilateral imbalance, because I do have a mild one. To help with that, and to work my lower quads more by putting a little bit more focus on them for part of one of my weaknesses on a lift. And here's what it comes down to. The needs of an advanced lifter who's trying to become elite, which is what I am, right? We look at all the charts, it's pretty obvious where I am. You can't even argue that point. I am an advanced lifter who, in order to become elite, has to get stronger. I have totally different training needs than 95% of people out there watching. So please don't think that because I'm doing an exercise that I'm promoting that you need to do it. I'm doing what I have to do to reach my goals. Now, we finished up with safety bar good mornings against chains. These are going to work the same way. I'm going to start working good mornings in on both of my days. I'm probably going to do chains on max effort day, and I'm going to do bands on dynamic effort day. We're going to start doing bands against good mornings also. Again, addressing all my weaknesses. Right? We're going to use all this stuff to build my deadlift, to build my squat, in addition to squatting and deadlifting. But that's the other thing you guys need to remember. Yes, we're doing these supplemental lifts, but I squat and deadlift twice a week. Right? We bench twice a week. So yes, I'll be doing floor presses. Yes, I'm doing dips. Yes, I'm doing triceps. Yes, we're doing curls. But we're benching twice a week. And I'm doing heavy benching too. Not playing around. I'm maxing. We're doing max effort every week. So it's all about correcting all these weaknesses, and it's about getting as thick as peanut butter, guys. That's what we have to do. You need to be the most stacked guy in your weight class in powerlifting to be successful. And that's what I have to do. I've got to bring up all these weak points. And I'm doing it slowly but surely. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.